from the range shooting 1,000 rounds of 22 LR in the Ruger LCP II. As always, making sure the magazine is clear and chamber's clear, gun safe to handle. You see all that carbon buildup. I don't know if you can on the camera, the lighting's pretty bad, but it's literally, this whole front end has changed color because of all the carbon buildup, so that's gonna be fun to clean later. But yeah, I first of all wanted to shoot and do this test with 10 different types of ammunition with a gun that was at least as most reliable as I think I could get it. So I upgraded a lot of the internal components using MCARBO. All the links will be in the description of the parts that I upgraded. And if you want to also learn how to upgrade your gun with these components, I'll also include the 3 videos that I did on best upgrades for your Ruger LCP II LR. Okay, because I've done videos on a 3-part series on that as well. Just quickly, I upgraded the stainless steel guide rod, stainless steel heavy duty recoil spring, heavy duty takedown lever, a heavy duty magazine spring, and the MCARBO trigger spring kit. The trigger spring kit from MCARBO is really nice because it's prone to, this gun is prone to failure to fires and feeds and everything, and it has feed issues and the slide not coming all the way back and coming out of battery, stuff like that. So what the MCARBO trigger spring kit proposes that they do is it helps to reduce and minimize those and make your gun a little bit more reliable. So the spring kit, it includes the firing pin spring, the hammer spring, and the trigger spring. These 3 things are probably some of the best upgrades for this gun. They also are a little bit tedious to do the upgrade, but honestly, it's not too difficult. So if you want to learn how to do that, check out that video as well. All right, so after saying all that, we're going to get into all the 10 different types of the ammunition. For each different type of ammunition, these are the guidelines I kind of followed, okay? I shot 100 rounds of each, and I would shoot 5 magazines, each with 10 rounds. So that'd be a total of 50. I did that twice, okay? The first 2 magazines, I would shoot just single shot, 1, take a pause, shoot again, shoot again. The next magazines 3 and 4, I would do double taps. So 2 shots in rapid succession, followed by a brief pause, another 2 shots rapid succession, and I repeat that like that. And then for the 5th magazine, I'd always do a build drill. So 6 rapid shots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'd take a brief pause, and then I'd finish off with 2 more double taps. That way I get a whole range of motion to the types of like firing skills and stuff, and firing tests that I'm doing on the firearm, just to see how it operates, if it operates a little different when I'm firing fast or if I'm just going slow. Gets a nice little broad range. That's the best I could kind of figure out how to do. So for each one that I bring up, I'm gonna pop up on the screen as well the grouping I did on the targets. All of the targets were shot with all this ammunition from about 3 yards. I measured it with a laser measuring device, so it was the same every time. It's like 12 feet, 12 and a half feet, somewhere around there. So it was always 3 yards or just over 3 yards, because self-defense shooting, the average is 3 yards. So I just wanted to keep it simple. Had everything lined up on the sights on target, and I just aimed for the center mass, and I just shot away as described in 1s, double taps, build drills. So after getting that all out of the way, we're gonna move straight onto the Remington Golden Bullets, okay? So these Remington Golden Bullets, they are 36 grains and 1280 FPS. And out of the 100 rounds that I shot, I had 2 failure to feeds and 1 failure to fire. So that was a total of 3 failures, okay? So 3% failure rate so far for the Remington Golden Bullets, and the spread looked a bit like this. Grouping, obviously, it's not going to be that bad at just 3 yards, but some of them, they were noticeably different, and I bring that on the actual quality of the ammunition, because some of them are just kind of all over the place. Even when I'm got it held stable, I'm aiming down, you know, it's 22 LR. So, but it's important to note, that some of these I could actually feel like I could trust my life on. So far, Remington Golden Bullets, not looking too good, 3% failure rate. All right. The second type of ammunition I did was Remington Thunderbolts. So these are 40 grains and 1255 FPS. Through all these, I had 1 failure to feed and 1 failure to fire, coming to a total of 2% failure rate. So a little bit better than the Golden Bullets, but honestly, they're about the same price range. There's really not much difference. And you know, they're very, very close neck and neck so far. And the spread for the Thunderbolts, not too much different than the Golden Bullets. All right. Third type of ammunition, we have the Remington Cyclone. I've heard pretty good things about this, saying that this is typically a little bit better than the other 2 types of Remington. So I wanted to try this. And the Cyclone, it's got 36 grains and 1280 FPS as well, just like the Golden Bullets. But I had 3 failure to fires. I had no failure to feeds, so it was feeding well, but 3 times out of 100, it just did not go off. When the firing pin hit the back, it didn't go boom. So that was kind of high for me because the other 2 Remingtons only had 1 failure to fire out of each of them, and then the rest were failure to feeds. This one had 3 failure to fires. So, you know, still 3%, it's pretty high failure rate. So far, all the Remingtons are kind of all neck and neck right now. I wouldn't pick any one over the other if I had to choose. Okay, and this is the spread for the Remington Cyclone. Again, not that much different, but there it is. And the 4th ammunition is Federal Auto Match. All right, this one has 40 grains and 1200 FPS. It's also a pretty typical cheap type of ammunition you can get at Walmart and stuff for pretty cheap. And I will say it's cheap for a reason. Federal Auto Match it gave me 1 failure to feed, and it gave me 7 failure to fires. So total failures out of 100 was 8, which brings it to 8% failure. I just did not like this ammunition at all. It didn't feel good. And this is also the grouping of it. Again, I was aiming right directly down the middle, but the grouping was pretty bad. It was the worst grouping out of all 10 of these. So take that with what you will. I really did try to like focus on the target there, and I feel like Federal in general is just not. I kind of want to stay away from it with 22 LR. I just don't want to bother with it anymore. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the 5th type of ammunition. We've got Armscore here. All right. Armscore has 36 grains and 1247 FPS according to the box. And I had 1 failure to feed and 7 failure to misfires. So again, a total of 8 failures, 8% for the Armscore. So it was pretty bad, just as bad as the Federal. I did feel it had like a little more oomph though when it did fire compared to the Federal. So if I had to pick between the 2, I would pick Armscore, not Federal. I just don't like Federal. From after this test, it was significantly worse from all the groupings. But yeah, Armscore not doing too good either, because right now Remington, all the 3 different types of Remington are still doing better out of all these types of ammunition that we have. So yeah, again, that's the grouping for Armscore. Typical, but very bad failure rate. So that's another ammunition I wouldn't even bother with. Our 6th type of ammunition is Aguila, copper plated, high velocity. All right. This one, I don't think this one was. No, this one actually was pretty bad. Yep, it was. So Aguila is 40 grains and 1255 FPS, and we had 5 failure to feeds and 4 failure to fires, bringing it to a 9% failure rate. So this one was pretty bad. It was worse than Federal and worse than Armscore, which I was kind of disappointed in because I typically have pretty good reliability with a Gorilla. I don't know if it's just because it's not able to run very well in this Ruger, because in, you know, my Tippmann M4 arms and stuff and my AR-15 style 22LR, this feeds a lot better. But for whatever reason, it wasn't feeding very well on my gun. Alright, so I was 9% failure rate, and here's the grouping for a Gorilla. Again, not too much different from all the others, but in terms of the failures, here's pretty bad. Alright. The next type of ammunition we've got is Monarch. Alright. I believe this is the Academy Sports version of Armscore, or it might be the other way around, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, they're both produced in similar countries, so it's just like their branded version, Academy Sports branded. So Monarch has 40 grains and 1200-ish velocity FPS. I had no failure to fires, so every time I pulled the trigger, it did go bang. However, I had 4 failure to feeds, so it still gave an overall high failure rate of 4%. Okay, so Monarch spread, again, not that bad, but 4% failure rate, still pretty high. Now I did CCI standard velocity, did another 100 rounds of those. I was actually having high hopes for the CCI. I've heard good things about them, typically the whole CCI lineup. But, you know, it has 40 grains and 1070 FPS, so it was like just over the 1,000. It didn't do too well on this. It had 2 failure to feeds, and it had 4 failure to fires, so it was a 6% failure rate. So that's pretty high. That beats the Federal and Armscore in a Gorilla, but still not too good. That puts it in 4th place. So this is the spread for CCI standard. Not too bad. They're all about the same at 3 yards, but you know, so far Federal is the worst grouping on that. Now CCI Mini Mag is supposed to be a little bit better. It's not much difference in terms of the grains and everything. They're 40 grains and 1235 FPS. So yeah, it's about 200 or so different FPS. I was hoping these would do better than the others. Than the standard velocity. It had 2 failure to feeds and 2 failure to fires, bringing it to a 4% total failure rate. So it was a little better than the standard, but not that much. So that's gonna tie it in 3rd place with the Monarch so far. And this is the spread for the Mini Mag. Still pretty good, but you know, we're going after the reliability here because you can get all the shots on target, but if you're not feeding the next round or it's failing to fire, can't really trust your life on it. So the final ammunition type is NormaTac 22. Now, I just was recommended this randomly on a Reddit that I found, and I've never heard of this round before. I found it at Academy Sports. Sometimes it's hard to find. It's a little niche round. But they claim 40 grains and 1083 FPS, and for whatever reason, it did very well in my 22LR, okay? It says reliable function, consistent velocity, it's supposed to be good, have unmatched accuracy, reliable training ammo for competitive match shooting, and reliable firing. It's made in Germany, that's where the ammunition is made, and out of 100 rounds, I had 1 failure to feed and 0 failure to fires. So out of 100 rounds, I had a 1% failure rate. So that puts the NormaTac 22 LR type of ammunition in the #1 spot. I was very surprised by that. I was thinking the CCI was gonna be up there, but actually they are kind of just in the middle. So yeah, that's the spread for Norma Tac 22. Again, just a typical nice spread for 3 yards, nothing fancy. But out of all of these types of ammunitions in my gun, with 100 rounds each, and I also did the Norma Tac a little later. It was like the 8th or 9th ammunition that I tested. So it was after already firing like 700 rounds, 700 to 800 rounds through this gun that was fully clean. It was now really, really dirty by the time I fired this. It still only had 1 failure to feed. So I don't know, this ammunition felt pretty good to me. And out of all these types, I'm definitely want to try to do another test on just this ammunition, probably like, you know, 300 rounds or something, and do a more broad test on the types of reliability of this ammunition, because it seems pretty good. So yeah, we've got in last place, we have Aguila. The Aguila has a 9% failure rate so far in this gun. Tying in 6th place is the Federal Automatch and Arms Corps. They're pretty bad, both with an 8% failure rate. I would not trust those 3 types of ammunition for my life in this gun. Without a doubt, I would just not use them. And then in 5th place, we've got Standard Velocity at a 6% failure rate. Again, to be honest, anything, I want it around 1 to 2% max. I really ideally want it 1% or 0. But yeah, I'm not going to be using this. I might clean up the gun and then test it if it was fully clean, because these were used a little later. That could also be a little you know, possibility of what was going on there. But I want a gun that can feed even if it's dirty. And yeah, this CCI Standard wasn't it for me. So that got 5th place there. And tying in 4th place, we have Monarch and CCI Mini Mag. Both of these were 4% failure rate. Again, I wouldn't really use them. And tied in 3rd place, surprisingly, was Remington Golden Bullets and Remington Cyclone. All right, I was not expecting that, but hey, the cheaper bullets actually made it to the top 3 out of these 10 ammunition. And 2nd place was the Thunderbolt. Again, I was surprised, but it is what it is. Thunderbolt only had 2% failure rate. The Remingtons, the other ones, had 3, and the Norma Tac had 1%. 1 out of 100 rounds. Only 1 of them failed to feed. So that's the winner I've got here, Norma Tac 22. If you've seen this around, try it out. Again, this is the spread for the Tac 22. And yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. I hope someone found this video useful. I spent a fair bit of money on all this ammunition, but it's just a fun little test to do and test to see. I do have a much better understanding of this gun, and I think I'm gonna aim for a type of ammunition around 1100 FPS. This is 1083 or 1087, something like that. And for whatever reason, it seems to be working very well. So I'm gonna do a more extensive test on this ammunition in the future. But yeah, if you have any experience with these types of ammunition in the 22 LR, the Ruger LCP II, let me know what worked for you, what absolutely did not work, what you'd definitely recommend not doing. You know, any tips you have, that'd be great. Quality of federal, not too good. Aguila, unfortunately, last place. So, yep, that was my gun. I was hoping Aguila would be more up there, but it was not. It looks like Norma Tac 22 or Thunderbolt Remington. So, hope this was useful for anybody out there and saved anyone else a bit of money. Stick to Norma Tac 22. And yeah, stay armed, stay locked and loaded, and above all else, stay armed with truth, knowledge, and wisdom. Till the next video, guys, peace.